Okay, let's unpack this. Life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But what if those curveballs weren't just something to, survive? What if they were actually opportunities for a deeper, maybe more powerful kind of transformation? That's
hmm
really what we're diving into today. Our remarkable human capacity, not just to endure adversity, but to truly grow and even thrive because of it.
And for this deep dive, we've pulled together, well, quite a collection of sources. We've got everything from cutting-edge psychological research, practical guides, and even some deeply personal narratives.
Okay.
Our mission, really, is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, those
Mm.
key insights, into two really powerful concepts: resilience and this thing called post-traumatic growth.
Right.
The goal is to give you a shortcut, a way to get well-informed, maybe find some surprising facts, and definitely some practical takeaways you can, immediately think about for your own life.
So let's start there then. Let's clarify these two fundamental ideas. What exactly is resilience?
Good place to start.
I mean, essentially, my understanding is it's how well you can deal with and bounce back from life's difficulties. It's about adapting, recovering, maybe coming back stronger.
Yeah, that's the core of it.
And the word itself, I found this interesting, comes from the Latin risilere, meaning to spring back.
Exactly, to spring back.
But what's really empowering, I think, and experts point this out, is that resilience isn't just some trait you're born with, right? These are behaviors we can actually learn and cultivate.
That's a crucial point. Absolutely crucial. And then we have post-traumatic growth, or PTG.
Okay.
And this is where the story gets, well, even more fascinating, I think. While resilience is often about returning to where you were before, your prior level of functioning,
Bouncing back.
right, bouncing back, PTG is different. It's a positive, transformative change that emerges specifically from your struggle with a highly challenging event.
So not just getting back up.
Exactly. It's not just a covering. It's actually growing beyond where you were before.
Mm.
Think of it like this, maybe. Resilience is getting back on your feet after a fall.
Okay.
Post-traumatic growth is not just getting back up, but maybe finding you've built stronger legs, or perhaps even discovered a totally new path because of that struggle.
Oh.
And what's truly eye-opening, I find, is that experiencing PTG, it's actually just as common as experiencing post-traumatic stress, or PTS.
Really? As common.
Just as common. Now, it's important to say the relationship between resilience and PTG isn't always straightforward. It gets a bit complex.
How so?
Well, some research suggests that highly resilient people might experience less profound trauma, subjectively speaking. So they might not go through that same deep transformative growth simply because they weren't quite as deeply impacted or their core wasn't shaken in the same way.
Huh. That's a really interesting nuance. So, okay, if resilience is something we can learn, something we can build, what are the most immediate practical steps someone listening right now could take to start building that muscle?
Great question. And the experts offer some incredibly compelling strategies. One big one is to find a sense of purpose.
Okay, purpose.
Yeah. This helps you find meaning in the challenges and motivates you to learn from what happened and just keep going. Think about building a support system, maybe giving a voice to a social movement, or serving your community, anything that connects you to something bigger.
That makes sense. What else?
Another key strategy is to believe in your abilities. That confidence really helps you cope. It means consciously practicing replacing that negative self-talk, the voice, with positive affirmations. Literally telling yourself, I can do this.
It sounds simple, but it's probably harder in practice.
It definitely takes practice. Also, develop a strong social network. Having caring, supportive people around you. It acts like a protective factor during crises. It allows you to share feelings, get support, validation.
Yeah, that connection piece feels vital.
Absolutely. And here's one that maybe surprises people. Embrace change. Flexibility is just essential. Resilient people often manage to use unexpected events, even bad ones, as opportunities to branch out in new directions.
Turning a negative into, a different path?
Sort of, yeah. And finally, maybe the most fundamental. Nurture yourself. Make time for activities you enjoy, even when, maybe especially when, you're stressed. It boosts your overall health and your readiness for whatever life throws your way.
That's incredibly practical advice. But what's fascinating, I think, is how this connects directly to our brains. Like, what's actually going on up there when we're building this capacity?
Ah, yeah, the neuroscience. It's all tied into the brain's remarkable adaptability. We often think of our genetic makeup as sort of fixed, right?
We're determined.
But research into something called epigenesis shows how our inherited genes are significantly influenced by our environment and experiences. Think of it like turning a gene's volume knob up or down.
Okay.
Our experiences, especially stress, can essentially retune our genes. They can impact things like our stress hormone response, that cortisol feedback loop.
So resilience isn't just inherited, it can be acquired.
Exactly, acquired through exposure to major stresses. Inside our heads, a few key areas are really at play. There's the medial prefrontal cortex, the MPFC.
Okay.
That's kind of our brain's command center for self-thought, identity, future planning, all crucial for orchestrating resilience.
And interestingly, trauma to this area can profoundly impair a person's sense of self.
Wow. So our very sense of who we are can be impacted biologically by trauma.
Yeah.
It's powerful. What else is going on up there when we're under stress?
Well, then there's the amygdala. That's our more primitive threat and fear center. It's constantly scanning for danger.
The alarm system.
Pretty much, yeah. The good news is practices like exercise, meditation, relaxation therapies, mindfulness, these can actually quiet those negative signals from the amygdala. They help reduce those overwhelming feelings.
So we can learn to turn down the alarm.
To some extent, yes. And then there's the hippocampus, which is vital for immediate memory. Chronic stress can actually cause this area to show reduced volume.
It can.
Yeah, and that impacts memory and potentially increases the risk of certain cognitive issues down the line. This really helps explain why the shadow of trauma can linger long after the actual danger is gone. It affects our very biology, how we remember, how we experience the world.
That brain science truly shows how resilience is built, or sometimes damaged. But now let's pivot to the incredible outcome of some of these deep struggles, the actual benefits of post-traumatic growth, which, as you said, can completely reshape a life. And it can stem from all sorts of challenging experiences, right? Natural disasters, accidents, loss, even living through something like a pandemic, as long as it fundamentally challenges your core values.
That's the key, the challenge to core beliefs.
So there are these 5 powerful domains of positive change that individuals can experience. First, stronger relationships. People often discover this amazing care and concern from others, feeling closer to loved ones. They might say something like, "I learned a great deal about how wonderful people are."
Yeah, that connection deepens.
Second, an awareness of new possibilities. Trauma might close some doors, sure, but it can force you to kind of reevaluate priorities, identify new goals, maybe leading to pathways you never even knew existed before. Someone might realize, hey, I can do better things with my life now.
A shift in perspective.
Exactly. Third, increased personal strength. People discover strengths they never imagined they had,
Yeah.
That feeling of, wow, I discovered that I'm stronger than I thought I was.
A kind of inner resilience they didn't know was there.
Fourth is spiritual enhancement. This could mean gaining clarity about life's meaning and purpose, or maybe feeling a deeper sense of connection to something larger than themselves, whatever that means to them.
A deeper meaning.
And finally, maybe tying it all together, a greater appreciation for life. Trauma often threatens what we value most, and that recovery process can result in this profound gratitude for things often taken for granted, just, the everyday stuff.
And this is where it gets really interesting, scientifically speaking, because these areas of growth aren't just like subjective feelings. There's research, for example, published in Frontiers that found 3G, but not resilience, significantly predicted an increased ability to recognize emotions in others' facial expressions.
Whoa, wait, so going through this growth actually made people better at reading emotions?
That's what this study suggests. It implies that this growth isn't just illusory, it has a real cognitive component. Possibly because the experience forces us into deeper social interactions, more meaningful relationships, making us more attuned.
That's fascinating.
But here's the flip side. The same study found a negative relationship between resilience and empathy.
That's a surprising twist. So does bouncing back too quickly, maybe too effectively, sometimes mean missing out on a deeper kind of human connection or perhaps a certain sensitivity? It makes you wonder, is there a cost sometimes to just snapping back?
It raises a really important question, doesn't it? Highly resilient individuals might maintain this sort of emotional equilibrium that, while protective for them, could potentially make them a little less sensitive to others' emotional states. It's a complex interplay.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And it's also worth noting that because PTG is such a personal, multi-layered experience, even the scientific tools used to measure it, like the post-traumatic growth inventory, well, researchers admit there are inconsistencies. They're exploring new ways, like a network approach, to understand it as a whole system of interacting changes, rather than just separate parts. Things like relating to others and new possibilities seem often central in these networks.
So the science is still evolving to capture it properly.
Definitely. And a crucial point to remember is that PTG and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, they can actually coexist. They're not mutually exclusive.
Right. You can be struggling and growing at the same time.
Exactly. In fact, for many people, the growth, finding that meaning or strength, can serve as a really powerful coping mechanism for the ongoing struggles of PTS.
That brings us to a really crucial point, though. The journey to post-traumatic growth is rarely straightforward. It's not like, flip a switch, now I'm growing.
No, not at all.
I read about one study focusing on female survivors of intimate partner violence. The obstacles they faced were immense, and the researchers found this overriding theme in their descriptions. Simply, it was all so confusing.
That captures the disorientation, yeah.
The obstacles they encountered were primarily intrapersonal worries, things like diminished self-worth, really negative personal feelings, negative views of themselves, just feeling crushed internally. But there were also significant external factors messing things up too,
Right.
like physical and psychological health problems stemming from the abuse, challenging personal circumstances like finances or housing, the perpetrator still being a factor, and even broader systemic issues, laws, regulations, institutions maybe not helping or even hindering. These are huge hurdles.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
Huge. And this is exactly where therapeutic approaches and proactive mental health strategies become so vital.
Right, the support systems.
Exactly. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, or TFCBT, for instance. It's shown real effectiveness in helping facilitate PTG and manage emotions, particularly, for example, with physically abused children.
How does that work?
Well, TFCBT helps people identify and correct those negative thought patterns. It teaches practical techniques like thought stopping to reduce that constant rumination, that replaying of events, and improve emotional regulation overall.
So it helps break the cycle.
In many ways, yes. And beyond specific therapies like that, there's this broader concept of proactive mental health.
Proactive, meaning before there's a crisis.
Precisely. Taking deliberate actions to support your well-being before issues become severe. It empowers individuals, it builds a buffer against stress, it's preventative maintenance for your mind.
I like that. What kind of actions are we talking about?
Well, there are some incredibly practical nervous system calming techniques that directly build resilience. Things like grounding exercises. Yeah, simple actions to reconnect you with the present moment when you feel overwhelmed or maybe dissociative, like just holding an object and focusing on its texture, or naming 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear. It pulls you back.
Okay, simple but effective.
Very. Also, slow, counted breathing. Intentionally slowing your breath helps regulate the nervous system. It stimulates the vagus nerve, which reduces heart rate, lowers cortisol. It's a direct biological intervention you can do anywhere.
Just breathing differently.
Yep. You could also try applying cold water, splash in your face, or even a quick cold shower if you're brave. That cold shock also stimulates the vagus nerve, reducing stress.
Huh. The cold plunge people are onto something, maybe?
Perhaps. Even vocalizations. Things like humming, singing, even gargling these can activate the body's relaxation response through that same vagal nerve stimulation.
So humming is good for you.
It can be. And a really powerful cognitive strategy is reframing negative thoughts. Consciously shifting your perspective from, say, why is this happening to me, to something like, what can I learn from this? It helps reduce rumination and builds a sense of control.
Taking agency back.
Exactly. And of course, let's be clear, for deep emotional imprints, for significant trauma, seeking professional help is vital. Therapy like EMDR or somatic experiencing can be incredibly effective. That's a proactive step too.
Okay, that's a great toolkit. And you know, hearing about these strategies is one thing, but then you hear the real stories. Here's where it gets really interesting, I think. These are just a few glimpses into the incredible human spirit pulled from survivor accounts.
Yeah, the lived experience.
Take Shan, for example. She was hit by a car, given only a 6% chance of survival. 6%.
Incredible odds to beat.
But just 7 months later, she defied all of that and celebrated her recovery with a staying alive party. How amazing is that?
That's fantastic. Resilience in action.
Then there's Grace. She suffered devastating injuries in a road collision, but she went on to complete the London Marathon, 3 years ahead of schedule, as she put it. And her motivation, specifically to give hope to other trauma survivors.
Wow. Turning her struggle into inspiration for others. That's PTG right there.
Totally. And Daryl's story, equally powerful. He overcame severe depression, deep internal conflicts, actually survived throwing himself in front of a train, becoming a double amputee.
Oh, my goodness.
And now he's an inspirational blogger and calls himself a change maker. Just unbelievable transformation.
From the depths of despair to that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
One more, Paul. He was hit by a taxi going 30 miles per hour. In that immediate aftermath, lying there, he imagined himself happy and in full health and started singing spiritual mantras to himself.
Right there in the moment.
Yeah. He later resumed his career as a therapist, but with this deepened insight into trauma from his own experience.
These stories, they just powerfully demonstrate how even those profound adversity can become a crucible, a place for immense personal growth.
Yeah.
These individuals really showcase that remarkable human ability to transform painful experiences into opportunities. Opportunities for healing, for finding purpose, developing a renewed appreciation for life. They truly embody everything we've been discussing about resilience and post-traumatic growth.
So what does this all mean then, wrapping this up? This deep dive really shows us that while trauma, adversity, curveballs, they're part of life, right? But they don't have to define us negatively.
Not necessarily, no.
The human capacity for both resilience, that bouncing back, and post-traumatic growth actively transforming for the better, it's truly profound.
It really is. And this raises, I think, an important final question for you, the listener. We touched on how our modern lives, the constant digital communication, maybe less real human contact, the chronic time pressure. Some research suggests this might actually be degrading individual resilience.
Making it harder for us.
Potentially, yes. So the question becomes, in a world increasingly shaped by digital connections and these constant demands, how can you consciously cultivate deeper, maybe more in-person connections? How can you carve out spaces of calm, moments of quiet, to strengthen your own brain's capacity for resilience? And maybe even foster growth, not just for yourself, but maybe for your community too.
That's a really powerful question to leave people with.
We've talked about a lot of strategies today, the brain science, the potential for growth. Maybe just consider, how might you apply just one or two of these ideas, starting today, something small, to proactively build your mental well-being and embrace that potential for growth, no matter what life brings your way?